So this is slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. And when a linear equation is written in slope-intercept form, you can identify the slope and the y-intercept. Well, that's up to you. So yesterday we talked about that m represents slope. So just the m, not the x, just the m. And the b represents y-intercept, and that sign kind of goes along with it. The x and the y, those are like your coordinates. You know how when you make a function table, you have x on one side and you have y on one side? You know what I'm talking about? Like if you had this, you said if x is 3, then y is 6, and that would be then your ordered pair. That's what I'm talking about. That's what this is referring to when it says the x and the y, okay? Alright, so we got that. So looking at these equations, let's practice this real quick. I know we kind of already did this, but some of these, you can see like this one, for instance. We talked about that a little bit today. But let's start with the top. So in this first one, what is the slope? 3. So m equals 3, b equals 1. And the second one, slope equals negative 3, y-intercept equals 2. Now this one, we talked a little bit ago. We said if you were graphing this, this would mean that at the 4 on the y-axis, so let's say this is 4, that we would have a line that went straight across. So in this one, the slope is 0, and the y-intercept, where it's crossing the y-axis, is at a positive 4. So slope is 0, y-intercept is 4. Alright, so if we look at this other one, like this one, between the equal sign and the x is a negative. So slope would be, thank you, negative 1. What is the y-intercept? 4. Alright, let me scroll up and make sure I don't have any that might confuse us. So we're okay with the fact that slope could be a decimal. Negative 0.2 would be the slope here. The last one? This one right here. Okay. So between the equal sign and the x is our slope. So, so slope is a negative 6. Y-intercept comes after the x. There's nothing after the x, so it's 0. No, it's 0. The b represents the y-intercept, and so that's where it is on the y-axis. There is a 0 on the y-axis. Okay, so that means it goes through like kind of where the origin is. Okay, what is the origin? On the coordinate plane where these two lines intersect is the origin. 0, 0. All right, I know, long time ago. Okay, now what I'm going to do is we're going to do the exact opposite of what we just did. I'm going to give you the slope and the y-intercept, and we are going to write the equation. Okay? Now, on all of these equations, we know that y equals blank x blank. Okay? So we're just filling in these blanks here. All of them are going to be y equals blank x blank. So you just have to figure out which one goes where. Y equals the m, so 2. And thank you, very good, Tate. I don't want to just put a 6 here. I need to show that it's a positive 6, a plus 6. If it's a negative 6, you put a minus 6. So in this one right here, the next one, that's it. Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 10. In this one, the slope is 0, and the y-intercept is negative 8. So, wait. Y equals 0x minus 8. And as some people were already thinking in their head, well, wait a second, if you're doing 0 times x, what happens to x? It goes away, it's gone. So it's just y equals negative 8. So hopefully you wrote y equals negative 5/3 x minus 4. Some people, when they're writing these, they forget to put in their x. So don't get in a hurry, like some of you get in a hurry, and forget to put your x. Okay? Okay, next. Now we're going to write equations, but I'm not giving you the slope and the y-intercept. You're going to have to find it. Okay? So I'm going to give you a graph. And looking at this graph, we are going to find the slope, which is what we practiced yesterday. We're going to find the y-intercept. And once again, y-intercept means where it's crossing the y-axis. And once we have found that information, then we're going to be able to write our equation. So, first let's find the slope. Now, on this line, sometimes they don't give you points to see. But I can see that this would be a point, that would not be, this would be a point. I also notice this would be a nice negative, so I need to be thinking that my slope needs to be a negative answer. And to get from this point to that point, I would go down 1 and over 2. So my slope is going to be negative 1/2. Now, my y-intercept, once again, my y-intercept is where it's crossing the y-axis. So it is crossing the y-axis at the 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the y-intercept is 3. Alright, so now that we have the information, we're going to write our equation. So y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3. There is our equation.